And as I start into chapter 13, our final chapter for today, I want to read a few verses to set the stage as to what is happening. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Consecrate to me all the firstborn, whatever opens the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and beast, it is mine." So God had already said that Israel was his firstborn. Israel was his son, the nation that he was creating, the first one that he was doing. And so the firstborn of every child, every animal was supposed to be set apart to God, and it belonged to God. So he speaks about the consecration of the firstborn. He speaks about the feast of the unleavened bread. And we said in verses 3 to 10, "Remember this day in which you went out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand the Lord brought you out of this place. No unleavened bread shall be eaten. On this day you are going out in the month of Abib, and it shall be when the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in this month. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and on the seventh day there shall be a feast unto the Lord." He continues on and is shaping this feast. He's giving them memorials as they are leaving, because these are the things that we're going to use to remember what God has done for them. So he has a law of the firstborn and the unleavened bread. And also, it says in verse 17, "Then it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go," so what God said actually did happen, "that God did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, lest perhaps the people change their minds when they see war and return to Egypt." So God led the people around by the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea. All the children of Israel went out in orderly ranks out of the land of Egypt. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had placed the children of Israel under solemn oath, saying, "God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here with you." And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. He did not take away the pillar of cloud by day or the pillar of fire by night from before the people. So as we conclude today's session, just talking about the final verses of chapter 13, after the death of the firstborn, Pharaoh says, "Let the people go." God gives instructions about the Passover and the firstborn and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And we see here the action that they actually leave. And there's a couple significant things that happen that I just want to touch on very quickly. And one is that there was a quicker way to get where God wanted them to go, but God did not lead them that way because he knew that they would not be ready to handle what they may face. The land of the Philistines, and when they see war, they're going to want to return to Egypt. They were still too close to Egypt for God to bring them through this quicker way. So he takes them a longer way, and he does that to protect them and to ensure that they continue on their journey. And that's just the kindness of God. And even in our own lives, sometimes we take the longer way, but it's not because God doesn't care. It's because God cares. He wants to ensure that we make it through the journey, and that we don't come up on anything that we are not yet ready or prepared to encounter. So they leave. And then another significant thing is that they take Joseph's bones. Remember, before Joseph dies in Genesis, the end of it, he says, "Listen, don't bury me here," because God had promised him that the people of Israel would return to their land. And so here we see that fulfilled. Years, centuries later, it is fulfilled. They take the bones of Joseph and they're going to bury him where he's supposed to be buried. And the last thing is that God leads them. And how does God lead them? With a pillar of cloud in the day and the pillar of fire. Now remember, when God tells Moses that he's the deliverer, Moses is like, "Who am I that I should do this?" And God's response was, "I will certainly be with you." And here we see tangible ways that God is with his people. they could see the pillar of cloud, they could see the pillar and fire and know that God is with them. And you need to know that God's with you for the journey that you're about to go on. And also remember, Moses had said that God would do things to show the difference between his people and the Egyptians. And so in this, God is staying true to his word. He is being with them. He's leading them in the right way, and he is guiding them by day and by night. So in this, there are so many rich themes that we see. We see the main theme of deliverance, of rescue, of the importance of obedience and faithfulness to God. We see the theme of God's power. We cannot do what God asks us to do in our own strength. We need the power of God. And we also see the theme of divine intelligence and divine wisdom, because God knows why he hardened Pharaoh's heart, why he took them the long way, why these things happened, because they were necessary for the plan. And of course, we see the theme of covenant, God's promise to his people, his love for his people. He made good on his word and is still leading them in the way they should go. All right, so that brings us to the end of our 6th session. I want you to watch the video. We want you to take your notes and get deep into the study of the Word of God. But also, I encourage you to do your own study. And, you can definitely send us your questions that you have. This is a time for us to go deeper into things of God and deeper into the Word of God. This is the season for it. This is the time for it, and God knows that if he brings you to it, he will bring you through it. Subscribe to our channel to share the information, share the videos. There may be people who just need a little bit more information or need to know that, hey, God has a plan. And I can tell you from my own life, as I have revisited a lot of these chapters, it has strengthened me now that, yes, God who led the Israelites and God who was with Abraham and, the way he led them is the same God that we are with today. And so I'm being encouraged, and I pray that you are being encouraged as you go. We'll let you know how you can get involved and become a part of this movement, because truly there is victory in the word. So we bless you, and I can't wait to share the next section of Exodus with you next week. All right, so Dr. Michelle signing off for another week. God bless.